train, got into our rental car, and came here to Culloden Battlefield. I will say my delusion is real. I got here and I couldn't help but think, oh my gosh, this is where Jamie Fraser was. I reminded myself, fictional character, not real. But it is absolutely incredible learning about the history of the men who are on this field who were real. What I love about the battlefield is that they have these flags, red flags, blue flags, and they mark where like the front lines for each side of the battle was. So really, really incredible. Where I'm standing right now is where the Jacobite and government armies would have met, where they actually collided. It was a very small area. It's a really great museum. They have everything marked. They have a great tour. They have great signs everywhere. We just left the kind of like the grave area where people from the clans were buried, and that was like really, really moving. So it's really beautiful. So I highly recommend coming here. It's been a really great experience. After Culloden, we've just been road tripping east. We are heading to Panem because it's where one of Tom's favorite movies, Local Hero or Local Heroes? Local Hero is filmed. I figured it's only appropriate he get a filming location stop, since many of our stops will be Outlander filming locations. And then along the way, we've been stopping at places that he grew up, and will continue to do so, because after Panem, we're gonna drive back to Lossiemouth and have dinner with a friend of mine who is so kindly hosting us for the evening. One thing that I just have not been able to stop thinking about was how much about the Battle of Culloden that I knew from Outlander, and our tour guide kept rolling eyes about Outlander fans, but truly, just think about how exponential the number of visitors skyrocketed to Culloden Battlefield because of the book and because of the show. It's got to be astronomical. I'm sure that it is. And if I hadn't watched the show, I probably wouldn't have planned this road trip. Certainly not the way that it's been planned. And I would not have stopped at some random battlefield that I knew nothing about, and without the show would have just been a large expanse of grass to me. Ooh, that hill got me. And I'm not saying I'm a historian or know everything about it. I'm not saying that Outlander is historically accurate completely, but there wasn't anything she said that was surprising. There wasn't anything that she said that contradicted the show as far as the Battle of Culloden. So I felt pretty educated on the topic from the show. We have to give credit where credit's due, and the author of Outlander definitely did her research, even though her goal was not to create an educational curriculum, historical curriculum. Still, lots of work and research was done, and I feel extremely knowledgeable. Not that it's completely perfect, but definitely knowledgeable on the topic. And then going there and seeing it in person definitely brought it full circle. Of course, there were things about the battlefield that I didn't know, like the inaccuracies of the grave site and how the graves were labeled. I wouldn't have any idea unless we had that tour. So the tour was really cool. But even just things like the ban of Highlander culture after the Battle of Culloden, I knew all of that. I knew about the Highland Regiment and stuff like that. So I'm sure Outlander fans are annoying, and actually they roped off the Fraser clan stone, and it's probably because everyone's reenacting the moment in Outlander when Claire is in the 1960s and touches the stone. Clearly, the show has made an impact on visitation to the site, and I really did enjoy it. heading towards Balmoral. That's our next stop. If I'm a little bumpy, it's because we are quite literally going up and down mountains. We are engaging with the terrain of the Highlands. We just left Hopeman and Lossiemouth. That's the area where Tom grew up, so we had like a bit of a nostalgia tour. We stayed with my friend Lindsay, and I can't thank Lindsay enough. Thank you so much for hosting us so well. It was our first night in Scotland, the beginning of this road trip. We were so spoiled by her hospitality. Like, dressing gowns folded on the bed. It was far better than any stay at any inn or hotel. Made breakfast for us in the morning, which was absolutely beautiful. Her home is absolutely stunning with the most beautiful views, like views of the sea and then the Highlands behind that. So an incredible experience, and Lindsay was so kind and thoughtful, even acted as our guide. So truly can't thank Lindsay enough. If you're watching, thank you. Speaking of being spoiled, we're so spoiled by the weather as well. It's like I was way overdressed. I started to put on a Cezanne sweater that I was really excited to wear to Balmoral today, and as I was just putting it on, I'm like, why am I sweating? Why is it so hot? We are just so lucky with the most incredible sunshine. Barely, I mean, now there are clouds, but when we were on the coast, literally not a cloud in the sky. Lindsay and I essentially met over social media, and what blows my mind is that now today I have this friend who lives in a region of the world that I've never been to before, and yet we can have hour-long conversations, just non-stop conversations. So many things that we have in common. Like at dinner last night, we just sat there for, oh, look at the stream, that's beautiful. We just sat there for, 3 hours just chatting about everything under the sun. Honestly, I was so inspired seeing her home and just by her life. She's an incredibly impressive person just all around. So it was so nice spending more time with her. It was actually only the second time that I've ever seen her in person. It just doesn't feel that way because of social media. And it was just a joy to have a really incredible dinner and then another lovely morning with her today. Behind me is Balmoral Castle, the royal residence here in Scotland. It was acquired by Queen Victoria after Queen Victoria and Prince Albert learned how much they enjoy the peace and serenity of Scotland. And you really can feel it here, the peace and serenity of Scotland. I felt it before we even got here to Balmoral when we were in Hopeman and Lossiemouth, like the beautiful views of the water and the Highlands, and it was just so completely arresting in the most beautiful way. And so when Queen Victoria and Prince Albert experienced Scotland, realized how much of a beautiful escape it was away from London, they made it theirs, and it is still the royal residence in Scotland today, much loved by many of the members of the royal family, including Queen Elizabeth II herself. And of course, this is where her family said goodbye to her. It really is just so good for the soul. The enormous trees, and even standing here at the castle, you can't see anything else other than rolling hills of towering trees. It's so secluded, and of course in the middle of the national park, so extremely secluded from the rest of the world. It is really great visiting Balmoral. They give you these audio walking guides, which I kind of like because then you're not tied to like a scheduled tour or a group of people or a certain tour guide. You just have the audio devices. I already dropped mine off, but you just put in the number, hold it up, and listen to it. You can hang it around your neck if you want to, if you're a huge history nerd like I am, and just take in the absolute beauty. You can't take it all in here at Balmoral. I am reluctant to leave just because it is so secluded and serene, but we have many more beautiful stops on our Scotland road trip. We are heading to St. Andrews tonight. It's where we're staying. We're staying in just an inn in St. Andrews. I'm excited to see it. I've never been there before.